Welcome to the future. Here, attention is currency, memory is a commodity, and emotions are taxed. Before you go to sleep, take a deep breath and let it out. And if you enjoy hearing stories like this, just support the channel. The algorithms will handle the rest. Let's begin. The smell of real bread, a cyberpunk rebellion. The alarm doesn't wake me anymore. It's the ads that do it. 17 different neural feeds screaming at once, each one perfectly calibrated to my sleep patterns, my stress responses, my purchasing history from 3 years ago, when I could still afford to purchase anything beyond synthetic nutrition paste. The algorithm knows exactly when my consciousness surfaces, knows the precise moment my attention becomes harvestable. I keep my eyes closed for another 37 seconds. Not because I'm tired. Sleep is a luxury I traded away long ago, but because those 37 seconds are mine. The only moments in my day when my focus isn't being tracked, optimized, and sold to the highest bidder. But even that's an illusion. My neural implant logs everything. The algorithm knows I'm awake. It knows I'm pretending. It's probably calculating the market value of my defiance right now, packaging it as authentic rebellion sentiment for some corporate campaign targeting the attention-poor demographic. My cramped apartment measures exactly 47 square feet. I know because the rental agreement flashes across my retinal display every morning, reminding me that my focus credit balance barely covers this concrete box suspended 300 floors above the street. The walls pulse with advertisements. Skincare routines I can't afford. Vacation experiences I'll never have. Memory packages promising happiness I sold years ago to pay for last month's nutrition paste. I sit up, and my balance flickers in the corner of my vision. 847 focus credits. Enough for synthetic paste and the transit fee to work. Nothing more. The bathroom mirror isn't really a mirror. It's another screen, another opportunity for the algorithm to harvest my attention while I stare at my own hollow eyes. An ad for synthetic endorphins plays across my reflection. Feel real joy again, it promises. But I remember selling my last genuine moment of happiness 6 months ago. A sunset I'd watched from the factory roof. Worth 3 weeks of nutrition paste. The shower water tastes metallic. Recycled through 17 different filtration systems, each one extracting trace minerals that get sold to the attention-rich in the upper towers. Even my waste is commodified in this place. Nothing belongs to me except the routine. Dress. Synthetic protein cube. Check the feeds for mandatory corporate updates. The news crawls across every surface. Attention markets reach all-time high. New memory extraction techniques promise 40% efficiency gains. Focus credit inflation continues to impact lower-tier citizens. Lower tier, that's what they call us now. Not poor, not struggling. Lower tier, as if our poverty is just a classification in some vast organizational chart, rather than a daily choice between consciousness and survival. I step onto the transit platform, and the weight of the city's attention economy presses down like a physical force. Every surface screams. Every wall pulses with neural advertisements designed to trigger specific brainwave patterns. The commute costs me 43 focus credits, 43 units of my consciousness, sold just to travel to the place where I'll sell more of it. The other passengers stand motionless, their eyes glazed, neural feeds active. They're working even during transit, their attention being harvested for the algorithm's endless appetite. I used to judge them. Now I understand. When you're drowning in attention debt, every moment of consciousness becomes currency. The train slides through the corporate sectors, past the gleaming towers where the attention-rich live in penthouses, flooded with natural light, actual sunlight, not the synthetic illumination that bathes us lower-tier workers. Up there, they buy experiences instead of selling them. They collect memories like art. My destination appears on the horizon. The attention farms, massive industrial complexes where human consciousness gets processed into focus energy. Where people like me maintain the neural harvesting equipment that keeps the algorithm fed. Another day of routine, another day of selling pieces of my awareness to survive. I don't know this will be the last day I think of survival as routine. The attention farms. The facility stretches across 12 city blocks, a monument to industrial consciousness extraction. From the outside, it looks almost beautiful, gleaming chrome and glass rising into the perpetual smog that blankets our sector. Inside, it's a cathedral of human diminishment. My badge scans at the employee entrance, deducting another focus credit for the privilege of accessing my workplace. The corridors hum with the sound of 10,000 minds being slowly drained. It's a frequency you feel in your bones after working here long enough. The collective vibration of human awareness being converted into algorithmic currency. I report to Sector 7, Level 15, Neural Harvesting Maintenance. My job is to ensure the extraction pods remain at optimal efficiency, to calibrate the neural interfaces that siphon consciousness from the workers strapped inside, to clean the biosensors when they get clogged with the residue of human dreams. The first pod I check contains a woman maybe 10 years older than me. Her eyes stare at nothing, pupils dilated, neural crown pulsing with soft blue light. The readout shows she's generating 1,247 focus credits per hour premium-grade attention from someone who still possesses authentic memories. Her file indicates she's selling her wedding day in installments, 3 hours of consciousness extraction for each year of marriage she can remember. I adjust her IV drip, synthetic nutrients to keep her body functional, while her mind generates profit for the algorithm. She doesn't react to my touch. In the harvesting state, the boundary between self and system dissolves. She exists as pure attention, nothing more. Row after row of pods stretch into the distance. Each one contains a human being whose consciousness has become a renewable resource. They volunteer for this. The contracts are legal, regulated, approved by the corporate ethics boards. Nobody forces them into the pods. Attention debt does that. The AI overseers float between the rose-sleek chrome spheres, equipped with sensors that monitor extraction efficiency down to the neural impulse. They don't acknowledge workers like me. We're too far beneath their algorithmic notice. They communicate only with the sector supervisors, the mid-tier managers who've sold enough of their own consciousness to afford cybernetic enhancement. Supervisor Chen approaches my station. Half his skull has been replaced with processing hardware, his organic brain augmented with corporate-grade cognitive amplifiers. He speaks in the clipped, optimized syntax of someone whose language centers have been algorithmically enhanced. Unit efficiency down 3.7% this quarter, he informs me. Adjustment required. I nod and recalibrate the extraction parameters on pod 247. The woman inside twitches slightly as I increase the neural draw. Her wedding memories will burn brighter now, generate more focus credits per hour. She'll also forget them faster. This is normal. This is routine. This is the machinery that keeps our society functioning. I move to the next pod. A young man, maybe 19, selling his childhood to pay for his mother's medical debt. The extraction crown has been pulling memories of summer afternoons, birthday parties, the taste of ice cream. His file shows he started with 18 years of authentic experiences. Now, he has maybe 6 months left. The philosophical question haunts every worker in the attention farms. What makes someone truly alive versus merely existing? These people breathe. Their hearts beat. But their consciousness, the thing that makes them human, is being systematically harvested and redistributed to those who can afford to buy it. I used to think about this more, used to feel something when I looked at the endless rows of extraction pods. But emotion is expensive when you're living on 1847 focus credits. Numbness is a survival mechanism in a world where empathy is a luxury commodity. The shift continues. Calibrate, monitor, adjust, clean, repeat. The AI overseers float past, their sensors sweeping across the human inventory. The algorithm's appetite is infinite. These farms operate 24 hours a day, converting human consciousness into the focus energy that powers our civilization. By lunch break, I've serviced 43 pods. 43 human beings, whose awareness is being processed into currency. The cafeteria serves synthetic nutrition paste flavored to simulate foods that were banned decades ago. I eat mechanically, saving my focus credits, preparing for another 4 hours of maintaining the machinery that transforms souls into spreadsheets. This is my life. This is everyone's life. Until tonight, when the navigation system fails, and I discover there are still places in this world where the algorithm cannot reach. Memory markets and synthetic lives. The memory markets opened 3 years after the algorithm achieved total social integration. I remember because I was there on opening day, though that memory isn't mine anymore. I sold it last winter when my heating credits ran out. What I have now is the synthetic replacement the corporation provided as part of the transaction. A manufactured recollection of standing in a gleaming marketplace where human experiences hang like fruit from digital trees. Clean, optimized, completely artificial. The real memory market wasn't gleaming. It was desperate. I've witnessed dozens of transactions since then. Watched people trade their most precious moments for enough focus credits to survive another week. The process is clinical, efficient. You enter a sterile booth, place the neural crown on your head, and select which experiences you're willing to sell. The AI assessor evaluates each memory for authenticity, emotional intensity, and market demand. A first kiss might be worth 50 credits if it was genuinely felt. A moment of pure joy watching a sunset could fetch 300. But the real value lies in sensory experiences, tastes, smells, textures that most people have never encountered in our synthetic world. Last month, I watched a woman in her 70s sell the memory of her grandmother's cooking. Real food, prepared with actual ingredients. The AI assessor valued it at 12,000 focus credits, enough to live comfortably for 6 months. She cried as the extraction completed, not from sadness, but from confusion. She could no longer remember why the smell of garlic had once made her feel safe. The economy of consciousness operates on brutal mathematics. Authentic experiences appreciate in value as they become rarer. Corporate buyers collect these memories like investments, storing them in vast digital vaults, or reselling them to the attention-rich who want to experience genuine human emotion without the inconvenience of actually living it. The synthetic replacements they provide are perfectly functional. They contain all the factual information of the original memory dates, locations, people involved. But they lack the indefinable quality that makes an experience real. They're consciousness without soul, information without meaning. I've sold so much of my own past that sometimes I can't tell what actually happened to me and what was implanted by corporate memory technicians. Did I ever really have a dog as a child? The synthetic memory says yes, a golden retriever named Max, who loved to chase tennis balls. But there's no warmth in the recollection, no emotional resonance. It feels like reading someone else's diary. The strangest part is how quickly you adapt to living with purchased experiences. The corporate memory packages are designed to integrate seamlessly with your existing consciousness. You can buy a perfect childhood, a loving relationship, even the memory of achieving your dreams. These synthetic experiences feel real while you're accessing them, but they leave no lasting impression on your identity. I know a man who's purchased 17 different careers. In his artificial memories, he's been a doctor, an artist, a pilot, a chef. He can recall the satisfaction of saving lives, the joy of creating beauty, the thrill of flight, the pleasure of crafting perfect meals. But when you talk to him, there's nothing behind his eyes. He's consumed so many synthetic experiences that his authentic self has been completely obscured. This is what defines existence in our attention-starved world. The gradual replacement of genuine human experience with optimized, marketable substitutes. We trade our souls for survival, one memory at a time, until we become walking collections of artificial experiences, synthetic beings living synthetic lives. The corporations call it progress. They say we're evolving beyond the limitations of organic consciousness, becoming more efficient versions of ourselves. But efficiency isn't the same as humanity. I still have a few authentic memories left. Fragments of childhood, moments of genuine emotion that I've somehow managed to keep hidden from the assessors. They're not particularly valuable a rainy afternoon, the texture of tree bark, the sound of real laughter. But they're mine. Until tonight, I thought they were all I had left of my real self. The glitch in the system. The shift ends at precisely 1847, same as every day for the past 4 years. My neural implant chimes with the familiar notification, workday complete. Focus credits earned, 127. Transit home, 43 credits. Remaining balance, 931. I join the stream of workers flowing toward the exit, our movements synchronized by the algorithm's optimization protocols. The transit system knows exactly when we'll arrive at each platform, calculates our routes to minimize congestion, adjusts our walking speed through subtle neural nudges. We move like blood cells through the city's circulatory system, each of us following our predetermined path home. The platform displays my route in soft blue light, projected directly onto my retinal display. Sector 7 to residential block C447, level 312. Transit time, 23 minutes. The same path I've taken for 1,161 consecutive days. I board the transport pod, settling into my assigned seat. The algorithm knows my preferred position based on biometric data collected over years of commuting. The pod slides into the transit tube, accelerating through the underground network that connects the industrial sectors to the residential towers. Everything proceeds normally for the first 12 minutes. Then something changes. The blue route line in my vision flickers. Just for a moment. So briefly, I almost convince myself it was an optical illusion. But then it happens again. The familiar path home wavers, fragments, disappears entirely. My neural implant buzzes with an error message I've never seen before. Navigation protocol interrupted. Rerouting. Please remain calm. But there is no reroute. The blue line is gone, replaced by static that crawls across my visual field like digital insects. The other passengers don't seem affected. Their eyes remain glazed. Their neural feeds still active, still harvesting their attention for the algorithm's endless appetite. The transport pod continues through the tunnel, but now I have no idea where we're going. The familiar landmarks that usually scroll past the windows are absent. Instead, I see maintenance tunnels, abandoned platforms, sections of the city I didn't know existed. My heart rate spikes, and immediately, my implant floods my system with synthetic calm, an automatic response designed to prevent panic-induced inefficiency. But the chemical serenity feels wrong, artificial. For the first time in years, I want to feel my own fear, The pod stops at a platform I don't recognize. The doors open with their usual pneumatic hiss, and my neural implant chimes. Destination reached. Please exit. But this isn't my destination. This isn't anywhere I've ever been. The platform is old, constructed from concrete instead of the gleaming composites used in modern transit stations. The walls lack the usual advertisement displays. Instead, they're covered in peeling paint and rust stains. The air smells different here. Musty, organic, real. I'm the only passenger who exits. The pod seals and slides away, leaving me alone on this forgotten platform with no idea how to get home. My neural implant continues to buzz with error messages. Location services unavailable. Navigation protocol corrupted. Please contact technical support. But technical support requires focus credits I can't afford to spend. And something about this malfunction feels intentional, as if the algorithm itself has pushed me off my predetermined path. I walk toward what appears to be an exit, following dim emergency lighting that hasn't been updated in decades. The stairs are concrete, worn smooth by countless footsteps from an earlier era. Each step takes me further from the monitored, optimized world I know. The stairwell leads to a heavy metal door marked with faded warnings about unauthorized access. But the lock is broken. The security system's long dead. I push through into darkness that swallows the light from my neural display. For the first time in my adult life, I am truly lost. And in that lostness, something begins to wake up. Descent into the underground. Beyond the broken door lies a world the algorithm forgot. The darkness here is absolute, not the managed dimness of energy-efficient lighting, but true absence of illumination. My neural implant struggles to compensate. Its night vision protocols designed for the predictable shadows of corporate architecture, not this organic blackness that seems to swallow light itself. I move forward by touch, my fingers trailing along walls that feel wrong under my synthetic-enhanced fingertips. The surface is rough, uneven actual concrete poured by human hands decades ago, before everything became optimized and smooth. There are imperfections here, bubbles in the material, tool marks, the subtle irregularities that mark authentic construction. The air grows thicker as I descend. My respiratory filters work overtime, trying to process atmosphere that hasn't been purified and recycled through corporate systems. But underneath the mustiness, there's something else, a quality I can't name because I've never experienced it. It's the smell of a place where humans once lived without algorithmic oversight. The tunnel branches ahead of me. My neural implant offers no guidance. Its mapping protocols show only empty space where these passages exist. I'm navigating by instinct now, following a faint current of air that suggests deeper spaces ahead. The walls change as I go deeper. Concrete gives way to older materials, brick and stone that predate the corporate reconstruction of the city. I'm descending through geological layers of civilization, moving backward through time with each step down. Emergency lighting flickers to life occasionally, triggered by motion sensors that somehow still function after all these years. The brief illumination reveals glimpses of a vast infrastructure network that extends far beyond what I imagined. Subway tunnels branch off in multiple directions. Maintenance shafts disappear into darkness above and below. Water pipes thick as my torso carry the recycled fluids that keep the upper city alive. This is the skeleton of the old world, the bones upon which our attention-based economy was built. Down here, the algorithm's influence weakens with each level of descent. The walls lack the neural interface ports that make surveillance possible. There are no advertisement displays, no biometric scanners, no focus credit transaction points. The silence is the most unsettling part. After a lifetime of constant noise advertisements screaming, neural feeds buzzing, the city's endless algorithmic chatter, this quiet feels almost violent. My audio processors keep adjusting their sensitivity, searching for the familiar background hum of corporate civilization. But there's nothing except the sound of my own breathing and the distant drip of water through ancient pipes. I follow a maintenance corridor that slopes steadily downward. The architecture here belongs to a different era entirely, an age when buildings were constructed to last rather than to maximize attention extraction efficiency. The craftsmanship is crude by modern standards, but somehow more honest. These walls were built by people who expected them to stand for centuries. Level after level, I descend through the forgotten infrastructure, past abandoned subway platforms where faded advertisements promote products that no longer exist, through basement levels of buildings that were demolished decades ago but whose foundations remain, like archaeological ruins buried beneath the corporate towers. The deeper I go, the more the corporate world above feels like an elaborate illusion. Up there, everything is optimized, monitored, controlled. Down here, chaos reigns. But it's organic chaos, the beautiful inefficiency of systems that evolved rather than being designed. My neural implant's battery indicator shows dangerous depletion levels. Without constant connection to the algorithm's power grid, the device is consuming its backup reserves. Soon, I'll lose even the minimal technological support that's guided me this far. But I continue downward, drawn by something I can't identify, a pull that feels almost gravitational, as if the deepest levels of this forgotten world contain some fundamental truth about what we've lost. The air current I've been following grows stronger, carrying with it a scent that stops me in my tracks. It's warm, organic, completely unlike anything in my synthetic world above. Somewhere ahead, something is burning. The madman and the flame. The scent leads me through a final maintenance tunnel that opens into a vast underground chamber. My neural implant's dying light reveals the remnants of what might once have been a subway station, massive concrete pillars supporting a vaulted ceiling that disappears into darkness above. But the space has been transformed into something impossible, something that shouldn't exist in our optimized world. In the center of the chamber, a fire burns, not the controlled plasma of corporate heating systems or the synthetic flames of entertainment displays. This is actual combustion wood and paper-feeding orange tongues of light that dance and flicker with organic unpredictability. The smoke rises in chaotic patterns that no algorithm could calculate or control. Beside the fire sits a man. My first thought is that he must be insane. Nobody chooses to live like this in darkness, in filth, burning actual materials for warmth when synthetic heating is efficient, clean, regulated. He's old, maybe 70, his hair wild and unkempt in a way that violates every corporate grooming protocol. His clothes are layers of salvaged fabric, patched and repatched with the kind of manual labor that disappeared decades ago. He looks up as I approach, and his eyes reflect the firelight with an intensity that makes me step backward. These aren't the glazed, vacant stares I'm used to seeing. His pupils aren't dilated from neural feed consumption. He's present in a way that feels almost aggressive, completely, authentically. "Here. Lost?" he asks, and his voice carries an accent I can't place. Not the standardized pronunciation taught by corporate education systems, but something regional, individual, real. I try to respond, but my vocal cords feel rusty. When did I last speak to someone who wasn't a supervisor or a service interface? Navigation malfunction, I finally manage. System error. He laughs, and the sound echoes off the concrete walls like music. System error. That's what they call it when you accidentally discover the world still exists. Around the fire, I begin to make out details that shouldn't be possible. He has tools, actual metal implements designed for manual labor rather than neural interface operation. There are containers that appear to hold organic materials, and most impossibly, there's a primitive oven constructed from salvaged brick and metal, its mouth glowing with the same impossible fire. "What are you doing here?" I ask, though part of me already knows the answer will challenge everything I understand about how people are supposed to live. "Baking bread," he says simply, as if this explains everything. The words don't process correctly. Bread isn't baked. It's synthesized in corporate nutrition facilities, optimized for caloric efficiency and shelf stability. The idea of manual food preparation belongs to historical documentaries, not reality. But as he speaks, he moves toward the primitive oven with practiced efficiency. His movements are deliberate, unoptimized, wastefully human. He opens the oven door, and heat washes over me. Not the regulated warmth of climate control systems, but wild, unpredictable thermal energy. Inside the oven, shapes that might be loaves rest on metal surfaces. They're irregular, imperfect, completely unlike the geometrically precise nutrition cubes I'm accustomed to. Steam rises from their surfaces, carrying with it a scent that stops my thoughts entirely. This man is doing something that predates the algorithm, something that exists outside the attention economy entirely. He's creating food through direct manipulation of raw materials, using fire and time and human skill instead of industrial synthesis. "You're insane," I whisper. But even as I say it, I know it's not true. He's something else entirely, something I lack the vocabulary to describe because our language has been optimized to exclude concepts like authenticity and self-sufficiency. "Maybe," he agrees, pulling one of the loaves from the oven with a metal tool. "Or maybe I'm the only sane person left." The bread. If that's what this impossible object truly is, rests on a rough wooden surface. Steam continues to rise from its crust, carrying that scent deeper into my consciousness with each breath. I should leave. Report this violation to corporate authorities. This man is clearly operating outside approved survival protocols, wasting resources, engaging in unauthorized food production. Everything about this scene represents a threat to the optimized efficiency that keeps our society functioning. But I can't move, because that scent is triggering something buried so deep in my consciousness that I'd forgotten it existed. The smell of truth. The aroma hits my olfactory sensors like a physical blow. My neural implant immediately begins analyzing the chemical composition complex carbohydrates, yeast byproducts, trace minerals from actual grain. But the technical breakdown means nothing compared to the raw sensory impact. This smell bypasses every synthetic enhancement, every algorithmic filter, every corporate optimization protocol, and strikes directly at something fundamental in my brain. This is real, not simulated, not synthesized, not optimized for maximum efficiency and minimum cost. This scent carries the chaotic complexity of organic processes, fermentation and combustion and transformation that happened through time and chance rather than algorithmic control. My knees buckle. The sensory overload is too intense for a consciousness accustomed to synthetic approximations. Every smell in my world has been designed, carefully crafted to trigger specific psychological responses, optimized for maximum attention capture, regulated to prevent overstimulation. This bread's aroma follows no such rules. It simply exists, wild and uncontrolled, and absolutely authentic. The old man watches my reaction with something that might be compassion. When did you last smell something real? He asks. I try to remember. The corporate nutrition paste has a scent, but it's manufactured to signal food without actually being food. The recycled air in my apartment carries artificial fresheners designed to promote calm and productivity. Even my own body odor has been modified by synthetic hygiene products that ensure I smell appropriately neutral for workplace efficiency. I don't know, I admit. I don't think I ever have. He breaks the bread with his hands, another violation of food safety protocols that should horrify me, but instead seems beautiful. The crust crackles as it separates, releasing more of that impossible aroma. The interior is pale and full of irregular holes, nothing like the uniform density of nutrition cubes. Smell this, he says, holding a piece toward me. I lean forward, and the scent intensifies. My neural implant struggles to process the data. Its databases contain no reference points for this level of sensory authenticity. The closest matches it can find are historical recordings, archived samples from before the corporate food synthesis programs eliminated the inefficiency of organic agriculture. But this isn't archived data. This is happening now, in real time, in the physical world. The smell triggers something deeper than memory, some genetic recognition that predates corporate consciousness modification. My brain knows this scent, even though I've never encountered it. It's coded into my DNA, a reminder of what human beings ate for thousands of years before we decided that optimization was more important than authenticity. How? I whisper. Flour, water, salt, time, he says. Same as it's been for 10,000 years. Same as it will be long after the algorithm forgets how to think. The simplicity is staggering. No neural interfaces, no focus credit transactions, no corporate oversight or efficiency protocols. Just basic materials transformed through processes that existed before civilization, that will exist after it falls. I realize I'm crying. Not the controlled emotional release triggered by synthetic mood regulators, but something raw and unmanaged. Salt water leaking from my eyes because my consciousness can't process the gap between what I've been living and what's possible. The bread's aroma fills the chamber, mixing with the smoke from the fire to create an atmosphere that feels more real than anything I've experienced in decades. This is what the world smelled like before we optimized it into sterile efficiency. This is what we gave up when we decided that human attention was more valuable than human experience. Take a piece, the old man offers. But I can't. Not because I don't want to, but because I understand intuitively that tasting this bread would change me in ways I'm not prepared for. The smell alone has already cracked something open in my consciousness. Actually eating it might shatter the careful numbness that's allowed me to survive in the attention economy. Instead, I breathe deeply, letting the scent saturate my neural pathways, storing it in whatever corner of my mind the corporate memory extractors haven't yet discovered. For the first time in my adult life, I'm experiencing something that belongs entirely to me. Buried memory awakens. The scent doesn't just fill my nostrils, it rewrites my neural architecture in real time. Something deep in my brainstem activates, pathways that haven't fired in decades suddenly blazing with electrical activity. My neural implant registers the anomaly as a malfunction, flooding my system with stabilizing chemicals. But it's too late. The bread's aroma has already triggered something the algorithm can't control. Memory. Not the synthetic replacements I've grown accustomed to. Not the optimized recollections designed for easy access and efficient storage. This is organic, memory chaotic, overwhelming, absolutely authentic. It rises from depths of consciousness I'd forgotten existed, carrying with it the full sensory complexity of genuine human experience. I'm 4 years old again. Sunlight streams through a window I haven't seen in 30 years, casting geometric patterns on a kitchen floor made of actual wood. The light is warm and golden, nothing like the regulated illumination of corporate housing. It moves as clouds pass overhead, unpredictable, inefficient, beautiful. My mother stands at a counter, her hands working dough with the same unconscious skill I just witnessed in the old man. But in this memory, the process isn't strange or anachronistic. It's normal. It's how food is supposed to be made. She hums while she works, not a corporate-approved melody designed to optimize productivity, but something spontaneous and personal. Her voice carries love in a way that synthetic audio can never replicate. The sound wraps around me like a physical embrace, creating safety in a world where safety wasn't purchased with focus credits. The kitchen smells like the chamber around me, bread and warmth and organic authenticity. But in this memory, there are other scents too. Coffee brewing in a primitive machine, fresh air flowing through windows that actually open, the lingering aroma of real food prepared with actual ingredients. I'm sitting at a wooden table, my small hands wrapped around a cup of milk that came from an animal, not a synthesis facility. The cup is imperfect, slightly lopsided, with a chip on the rim that my mother never bothered to replace, because imperfection wasn't yet considered inefficient. She pulls bread from an oven, much like the one in this underground chamber. The loaves are golden and irregular, their crusts crackling as they cool. Steam rises in patterns no algorithm could predict or control. The scent fills the kitchen, mixing with sunlight and laughter, and the profound security of being loved without conditions or transactions. "Smell this, sweetheart," she says, holding a piece of warm bread toward me. The memory is so vivid that I can feel the bread's heat against my face, can see the way steam curls upward in the golden light. This is the moment my brain has been trying to access for decades, the template against which every subsequent experience has been unconsciously measured and found wanting. My mother's face is clear in this recollection, unmarked by the stress lines that would come later as the corporate systems gradually consumed our world. Her eyes hold the same presence I see in the old man beside the fire, the quality of being completely, authentically here. "It's good bread," she tells me, and I believe her because she's never lied to me, never tried to optimize my responses or harvest my attention for algorithmic profit. She loves me for reasons that have nothing to do with efficiency or market value. I bite into the warm bread, and the taste explodes across my consciousness. Complex, earthy, real. It's nothing like the nutrition paste that would eventually replace all food. This bread has texture and flavor that changes as I chew, revealing layers of taste that no synthesis process could replicate. But more than the physical sensation, there's the emotional context. This bread represents security, love, a world where human needs mattered more than corporate profits. It's the taste of being cared for by someone whose affection couldn't be purchased or optimized. The memory fractures as my adult consciousness tries to process its implications. This kitchen, this moment, this version of my mother. They all existed in a world that the algorithm systematically dismantled. That golden sunlight was replaced by regulated illumination. That spontaneous humming was silenced by efficiency protocols. That unconditional love was commodified into attention transactions. I'm back in the underground chamber, tears streaming down my face, holding the most valuable thing I've ever possessed. Proof that authenticity once existed, and that somewhere in my consciousness, it still does. Buried memory awakens. The old man sets down his tools and studies my face with eyes that have seen too much. "That's what real remembering looks like," he says quietly. not the synthetic replacements they sell you. The kind of memory that changes who you are. I'm still shaking from the intensity of it. That kitchen, that sunlight, my mother's hands working dough, it feels more real than anything I've experienced in decades. More real than my apartment, my job, my entire optimized existence in the corporate towers above. How long since you remembered her? He asks. I sold that memory, I whisper. 3 years ago. Medical emergency needed focus credits for treatment. The assessor said childhood recollections were low value unless they contained unique sensory data. But that's not entirely true, and we both know it. I sold the synthetic replacement of that memory. The corporate-approved version they'd given me after previous extractions had corrupted the original. What I just experienced was something deeper. The authentic core that survived beneath layers of algorithmic modification. The bread's aroma continues to work on my consciousness like a key unlocking doors I didn't know existed. More fragments surface. The weight of my mother's hand on my forehead when I was sick. The sound of rain against real windows. The taste of water that hadn't been processed through 17 filtration systems. These aren't the clean, accessible memories that corporate buyers prefer. They're messy, emotional, connected to a web of sensory experiences that the algorithm can't easily categorize or price. They're memories of a world where efficiency wasn't the highest virtue, where human beings mattered more than the attention they could generate. She taught you something they can't extract, the old man says. The knowledge that real things exist, that bread can be more than synthesized nutrients. That love doesn't require transaction fees. He's right. Beneath all the corporate modifications, beneath years of synthetic replacements and algorithmic optimization, some part of me retained the template of authenticity. My mother's kitchen became the standard against which every subsequent experience was measured and found wanting. They'll come for this memory too, I tell him. When they scan my neural patterns tomorrow, they'll detect the anomaly. Fresh, authentic content always triggers their assessment protocols. Let them come, he says, breaking off another piece of bread. Some things are worth more than the credits they'll pay. But I'm not sure I believe him. That memory of my mother, it's the most valuable thing I've ever possessed, but it's also a death sentence in the attention economy. Unique sensory experiences like the smell of real bread command premium prices from corporate collectors. They'll offer me enough focus credits to live comfortably for years. The old man seems to read my thoughts. You're already calculating its market value. I am. I can't help it. 30 years of attention poverty have trained my brain to automatically assess the credit potential of every experience. The smell of bread, the memory of sunlight, the sound of my mother's laughter. They're all commodities now, resources to be harvested and sold. That's what they've done to us, I say, made us complicit in our own diminishment. We sell our souls one memory at a time because survival requires it. Or because we've forgotten there are other ways to survive. He gestures around the chamber, the fire, the primitive oven, the tools crafted by human hands. Down here, the algorithm's rules don't apply. Down here, you can choose to keep what's yours. But even as he speaks, I know I'll return to the surface. This underground world is beautiful, authentic, real, but it's also impossible. I have rent to pay, nutrition paste to buy, corporate obligations that require focus credits. I can't live on bread and firelight and the memory of my mother's love. Can I? The question hangs in the smoky air as the old man tends his fire, and somewhere deep in my consciousness, that recovered memory of authenticity begins to change the fundamental equations of my existence. The old man's wisdom. "You want to know how it happened?" the old man asks, settling back against a concrete pillar. "How we went from kitchens full of sunlight to attention farms and synthetic paste." I nod, still clutching the memory of my mother like a lifeline. "Gradually," he says. "That's the genius of it. Nobody woke up one morning and decided to sell their soul. It happened one small compromise at a time." He feeds another piece of salvaged wood to the fire, and the flames dance higher, casting our shadows on the ancient walls. First, they made food more convenient. Why bake bread when you can buy it pre-made? Why cook when restaurants are faster? Seemed reasonable. Efficiency over authenticity. But just this once. The bread's aroma still fills the chamber, a constant reminder of what we lost. Then they made it cheaper. Synthetic ingredients cost less than organic ones. Artificial flavors were more consistent than natural ones. The food still tasted good better, even, because they could optimize every molecule for maximum pleasure response. I think about the nutrition paste I consume daily. Its perfectly calibrated flavor profile, designed to trigger satisfaction without waste. After that came the real innovation neural enhancement of taste perception. Why depend on unpredictable natural flavors when you could stimulate the exact brain regions responsible for enjoyment? The food became irrelevant. What mattered was the neurological response. He breaks off another piece of bread, offering it to me again. This time I accept it, feeling its weight in my palm, substantial, imperfect, real. But the true masterstroke was making experience itself a commodity. Once they could record and replay sensory data directly to the brain, why bother with messy reality? You could experience the perfect meal, the perfect sunset, the perfect love affair, all optimized, all guaranteed to produce maximum satisfaction. And people chose that, I say, understanding finally dawning. Of course they did. Synthetic experiences were better than real ones. More intense, more reliable, more affordable. Reality became a luxury good that only the wealthy could afford. The fire crackles, and in its light, I see tools that predate the algorithm hammers, and knives, and measuring cups designed for human hands rather than neural interfaces. The final step was attention harvesting. Once human consciousness became the primary resource, once focus credits replaced currency, the transformation was complete. People weren't living their lives anymore. They were generating content for algorithmic consumption. He takes a bite of bread, chewing slowly, savoring the complex flavors that no synthesis process could replicate. But some of us remembered what came before. Some of us chose to disappear rather than submit to optimization. Down here, in the spaces the algorithm forgot, we kept the old ways alive. How many of you are there? I ask. Fewer every year. The corporate memory extractors are getting better at detecting authentic experiences. Most people who find their way down here eventually return to the surface. The focus credits are too tempting, the survival pressure too intense. I understand. Even now, part of my brain is calculating how many credits I could earn by selling this conversation, this encounter with genuine authenticity. But you stayed. I stayed because I remembered the taste of real food, because I knew the difference between living and merely existing, because someone had to keep the fire burning for the day when people like you find their way down here. He looks at me directly, and his eyes hold decades of accumulated wisdom. The question is, what will you do with what you've discovered? Will you return to the surface and sell this memory for credits? Or will you choose to keep something real in a world of simulations? The bread grows heavy in my hand as I realize he's asking me to make the most important decision of my life. Return to the surface. The journey back feels like traveling through time in reverse, each level upward, stripping away another layer of authenticity until I'm drowning in the familiar noise of corporate civilization. The emergency stairwells give way to maintenance corridors, then to the sterile transit tunnels, where my neural implant begins receiving signals again. The algorithm's tendrils reach down into my consciousness, immediately detecting the anomaly in my neural patterns. Error messages cascade across my visual display. Unauthorized memory formation detected. Report for assessment within 24 hours. But I ignore them, clutching the bread in my jacket pocket like a talisman against the synthetic world closing in around me. The transit platform materializes ahead, gleaming chrome and pulsing advertisements, a stark contrast to the rough concrete I've left behind. The moment I step onto the platform, my implant reconnects fully to the corporate network. Focus credit deductions begin immediately. Platform access, air quality surcharge, neural bandwidth usage fees. The other commuters stand in their familiar glazed stupor, attention being harvested in real time while they wait for transport. Their consciousness streams upward through fiber optic cables to feed the algorithm's endless appetite. Looking at them now, after experiencing authentic human presence in the old man's chamber, they seem like ghosts, physically present, but spiritually absent. My transport pod arrives with mechanical precision. I settle into my assigned seat, and the familiar route home materializes on my retinal display. But everything looks different now. The advertisements screaming from every surface seem desperate, pathetic synthetic approximations of desires they've convinced us we should feel. The recycled air tastes stale and processed after breathing the organic atmosphere of the underground. We pass through the corporate sectors, those gleaming towers where the attention-rich live in artificial paradise. But now I understand what they're really purchasing: not happiness, but the illusion of happiness. Not experience, but the simulation of experience. They've bought synthetic versions of what I just touched in that underground chamber. The residential blocks loom ahead, thousands of identical units stacked like shipping containers. My neighbors are visible through their windows, blue neural crowns glowing as they work late shifts in virtual attention farms, generating focus credits while their bodies rest. The sight that once seemed normal now appears horrific. My own apartment building rises before me, a monument to efficient human storage. The elevator scans my biometrics, deducting transit credits, updating my location in the corporate surveillance grid. Every movement tracked, every breath monetized, every thought potential currency. The hallway to my unit pulses with targeted advertisements based on my recent neural activity. The algorithm has already begun analyzing my anomalous memory formation, trying to categorize and price the experience I've just had. Offers flash across my vision. Sell unique sensory memories for premium credits. Convert authentic experiences to focus energy. I reach my door, and the lock scans my neural signature. For a moment, the system hesitates. My consciousness has been altered by contact with something outside its parameters. Then the lock disengages with a soft click. Inside, my apartment feels impossibly small after the vast underground chambers. The walls pulse with the familiar rhythm of corporate advertisements. My nutrition dispenser chimes, offering synthetic paste optimized for my biometric profile. But in my pocket, the piece of bread remains warm and real proof that authenticity still exists somewhere beneath the algorithm's perfect control. The question the old man posed echoes in my consciousness. What will I do with what I've discovered? By morning, I'll have to decide. Corporate detection. I don't sleep that night. How can I, when every breath carries the memory of that impossible aroma? The piece of bread sits on my kitchen counter, a fragment of authenticity in a world of synthetic approximations. Even hours later, it continues to emit that complex scent that my neural implant can't properly categorize. By dawn, the corporate surveillance algorithms have completed their analysis. The first notification arrives at 06:23, projected directly onto my retinal display with the urgent red priority reserved for high-value anomalies. Unique sensory experience detected. Neural pattern analysis indicates exposure to pre-algorithm organic compounds. Report to Memory Assessment Division immediately. I stare at the message, understanding its implications. The algorithm doesn't just monitor our actions, it reads our consciousness in real time, analyzing every neural firing pattern for commercial potential. My encounter with authentic bread has created a signature unlike anything in their databases, a sensory fingerprint that screams of value to corporate memory buyers. The second message follows minutes later, this one from the Memory Markets Division. Preliminary assessment indicates Class A authentic experience. Estimated value, 50,000, 75,000 focus credits. Immediate extraction recommended to prevent degradation. 50,000 credits, more money than I've seen in my entire life. Enough to move out of attention debt housing, enough to buy synthetic experiences that would make me forget I was ever poor, enough to purchase a comfortable existence in the corporate middle class. But as I read the offer, my hand unconsciously moves to my pocket where the bread rests. The memory of my mother's kitchen pulses in my consciousness. Not the synthetic replacement I sold years ago, but the authentic core that somehow survived beneath layers of algorithmic modification. The third message arrives from an entity I've never encountered directly. Personal communication from Mnemonic Acquisitions Corp. Your recent neural activity suggests possession of extremely rare sensory data. Our premium collectors are prepared to offer unprecedented compensation for exclusive rights to this experience. The corporate machinery is mobilizing. Somewhere in the gleaming towers above, algorithms are calculating the market value of my one authentic moment. Memory brokers are preparing extraction protocols. Corporate buyers are being notified that something genuinely real has surfaced in the attention economy. My neural implant buzzes with incoming calls. Memory assessors, corporate agents, algorithmic representatives, all eager to convert my experience into focus credits. I ignore them all, but the pressure builds with each notification. The algorithm knows exactly where I am, exactly what I possess, exactly how much it's worth. By mid-morning, the offers have escalated beyond anything I imagined possible. Final offer: 100,000 focus credits, plus premium synthetic replacement memories. This represents a life-changing opportunity. Extraction appointment scheduled for 14 hours. 100,000 credits, enough to escape attention poverty forever. Enough to buy happiness, or at least its synthetic equivalent. The rational part of my brain understands that refusing this offer would be insane. I'm trading a lifetime of comfort for a single memory, no matter how authentic. But rationality isn't what's driving my decision anymore. The smell of bread has awakened something in me that the algorithm can't quantify or control. It's reminded me that authenticity exists, that real experiences are possible, that somewhere beneath all the corporate optimization lies something worth preserving. The extraction appointment approaches, and I know they won't accept refusal much longer. The corporate memory hunters are patient, but not infinitely so. Soon, they'll move from offers to demands, from requests to requirements. The piece of bread on my counter has begun to harden, its aroma fading as the organic compounds break down. But in my consciousness, the memory burns brighter than ever, a flame of authenticity that threatens to consume the careful numbness I've cultivated for decades. The algorithm has detected something it cannot control, cannot optimize, cannot fully understand. And that terrifies it more than any system malfunction or corporate rebellion ever could. Because authenticity is contagious. The offer and the refusal. They arrive at 13:47, 13 minutes before the scheduled appointment. 3 figures in identical corporate suits, their movements synchronized by shared neural protocols. Memory extraction agents, the algorithm's most efficient servants, optimized for maximum persuasion and minimal resistance. The lead agent projects her credentials directly onto my retinal display. Senior Memory Assessor, Chen, Mnemonic Acquisitions Corp. Authorization Level Alpha 7. Her smile is perfectly calibrated for trust building, her voice modulated to trigger compliance responses in standard neural architecture. "We understand you've had an unusual experience," she says, settling into my apartment's single chair, while her companions remain standing by the door. "Our preliminary scans indicate you've encountered something remarkable, a sensory experience with extraordinary market value." I remain silent, but my neural implant betrays me. The agent's scanning equipment reads my stress responses, my elevated heart rate, the unique neural patterns created by authentic memory formation. They know exactly what I possess. "The bread," Agent Chen says simply. "Real grain, real fermentation, real combustion. Our databases show no comparable sensory signature in the past 37 years. You've experienced something that shouldn't exist in our optimized world." She activates a holographic display that fills the room with numbers, focus credit calculations, market analyses, projected returns on investment. The figures are staggering. 150,000 credits, she announces. Final offer. This represents more wealth than most citizens accumulate in a lifetime. You could purchase premium synthetic experiences, upgrade to luxury housing, never worry about attention debt again. The display shows what that money could buy. A penthouse apartment with real windows, synthetic memories of perfect vacations, artificial experiences of love and achievement indistinguishable from the authentic versions, a complete life makeover, optimized for maximum satisfaction. "We're also prepared to provide replacement memories," her companion adds. "High-quality synthetic substitutes that will preserve the factual content of your experience while removing the disruptive emotional components. You'll remember encountering the bread maker, but without the destabilizing effects of authentic sensory input." They're offering me everything I've ever wanted: escape from poverty, freedom from the constant pressure of focus, credit scarcity, access to the comfortable synthetic existence enjoyed by the corporate middle class. All I have to do is surrender the one real thing I've ever possessed. "The extraction process is completely painless," Agent Chen continues. "Neural crown placement, consciousness mapping, targeted memory isolation. You'll retain all other experiences, while we harvest only the specific sensory data related to the bread encounter. Within an hour, you'll be wealthy beyond your current comprehension." I look at the piece of bread on my counter, now hard and stale, but still carrying traces of that impossible aroma. In my consciousness, the memory of my mother's kitchen burns with increasing intensity. Sunlight and laughter, and the profound security of being loved without conditions. "No," I say quietly. The word hangs in the air like a physical object. Agent Chen's expression doesn't change, but her neural implant processes my refusal with visible confusion. Her optimization protocols hadn't calculated this possibility. "I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?" she asks, her voice maintaining perfect professional courtesy. "No, I won't sell it." The silence stretches between us. Her companions exchange glances, the first unscripted behavior I've seen from them. They're encountering something outside their programming, a human being choosing authenticity over optimization. Perhaps you don't understand the magnitude of this offer. Agent Chen tries again. This isn't just about focus credits. This is about transforming your entire existence. You could live like the attention-rich, experience pleasures beyond anything your current circumstances allow. I understand perfectly, I tell her. You're offering me synthetic happiness in exchange for the only real thing I've ever owned. You want to take my mother's kitchen and replace it with algorithmic approximations. Your mother's kitchen? Agent Chen's scanning equipment works overtime, detecting the deeper memory structures connected to the bread experience. We weren't aware of secondary authentic memories. This significantly increases the package value, 200,000 credits. But I'm already shaking my head, because I finally understand what the old man meant about choosing to keep what's yours. Some things can't be priced because they exist outside the attention economy entirely. Some experiences belong to the human soul rather than the corporate marketplace. The answer is no. The hunt begins. Agent Chen's perfectly calibrated smile doesn't waver, but something shifts in her posture. The corporate courtesy protocols disengage, replaced by something colder, more mechanical. I see, she says, her voice losing its persuasive modulation. You're choosing to retain possession of corporate valuable intellectual property without authorization. The language change isn't accidental. I'm no longer a potential client. I'm a resource that refuses to be harvested. The other agents move closer, their movements losing the pretense of human casualness. They're enforcement protocols now, not negotiators. Please understand the position you're placing yourself in, Agent Chen continues. Authentic sensory experiences of this caliber represent significant corporate assets. The algorithm has invested considerable resources in their identification and acquisition. Refusal to cooperate constitutes theft of intellectual property. It's my memory, I say. But even as the words leave my mouth, I know how naive they sound. Memory belongs to whoever can extract and monetize it, she corrects. That's been established corporate law for decades. Individual consciousness is simply the storage medium, not the owner. Her companions are already scanning my apartment, their neural implants interfacing with my building's security systems. I watch my focus, credit balance drain in real time as they access my personal data, my employment records, my consumption patterns. Marcus Chen, Unit C447, Level 312, one of them recites. Employment, Attention Farm Maintenance, Sector 7. Credit rating, subprime. Outstanding debts, 47,000 credits. Psychological profile, compliant, risk-averse, historically cooperative with corporate directives. Agent Chen nods, processing this information. Your profile suggests you're not typically prone to irrational decision-making, Marcus. This resistance to a mutually beneficial transaction is highly anomalous. Perhaps the authentic memory exposure has created temporary psychological instability. She's pathologizing my refusal, turning authenticity itself into a mental disorder that requires corporate intervention. We're prepared to be patient, she continues, but understand that your cooperation is not ultimately optional. The Memory Acquisition Act of 2087 grants corporate entities broad authority to extract consciousness-based assets when voluntary compliance fails. The threat hangs in the recycled air of my apartment. They're giving me time to reconsider, but the outcome isn't in doubt. The algorithm doesn't accept refusal. It simply adjusts its extraction methods. You have 48 hours to reconsider, Agent Chen announces, standing with fluid mechanical precision. After that period, mandatory extraction protocols will be implemented. For your own safety, we recommend voluntary compliance. They file out of my apartment, leaving behind scanning equipment that will monitor my neural patterns for any attempt to hide or transfer the memory. I'm under surveillance now. Not just the passive monitoring every citizen endures, but active corporate attention focused on harvesting my consciousness. Within minutes of their departure, the systematic destruction of my life begins. My neural implant chimes with termination notices. Employment contract canceled due to psychological instability affecting workplace efficiency. Housing lease revoked for failure to maintain corporate compliance standards. Credit accounts frozen pending resolution of intellectual property disputes. The algorithm works with ruthless efficiency. Every system I depend on for survival, employment, housing, nutrition access, transportation, requires corporate approval. And that approval has been withdrawn. My neighbors begin avoiding me in the hallways. Word spreads quickly in attention debt housing. I'm marked for memory extraction, a corporate target whose proximity might contaminate their own neural profiles. The social isolation is immediate and complete. By evening, delivery drones have stopped servicing my unit. My nutrition dispenser displays error messages. The building's climate control system excludes my apartment from its circulation patterns. They're making survival impossible without forcing direct confrontation. But in my pocket, the piece of bread remains harder now, its aroma fading, but still proof that authenticity exists somewhere beyond corporate control. And in my consciousness, that memory of my mother's kitchen burns brighter than ever, a flame they haven't yet learned how to extinguish. The hunt has begun, but I'm no longer the same person who left for work yesterday morning. The smell of real bread has awakened something the algorithm can't optimize or control. Something worth fighting for. Forced extraction. They come for me at dawn on the third day, when my resistance is weakest, and my neural defenses are compromised by exhaustion and malnutrition. The apartment door doesn't just unlock, it dissolves. Corporate override codes reduce the barrier to its component molecules, which scatter like dust across my floor. 6 figures enter in perfect formation. Memory extraction specialists in full neural hazmat gear, their faces hidden behind scanning visors that read my consciousness in real time. I'm still clutching the piece of bread, now hard as stone, but somehow still carrying traces of that impossible aroma. It's become my anchor to authenticity in a world determined to strip away everything real. Marcus Chen, the lead technician, announces, his voice filtered through vocal modulators that remove all human inflection. By order of the Memory Acquisition Tribunal, you are subject to mandatory consciousness extraction. Corporate Authorization Code, Alpha 779. Nah, they move with the efficiency of a surgical team. Neural crown deployment, consciousness mapping protocols, targeted memory isolation systems, all of it calibrated to extract my authentic experience while leaving the shell of my personality intact. The neural crown descends toward my head like a mechanical spider, its fiber optic tendril seeking connection points along my skull. I try to pull away, but restraint fields hold me motionless in my own chair. The algorithm has turned my apartment into an extraction facility. Please remain calm, another technician advises. Resistance will only increase the risk of collateral memory damage. We're targeting only the bread-related sensory experience and associated emotional content. But that's everything. The bread smell is connected to my mother's kitchen, which connects to every authentic moment I've ever experienced. They're not just extracting a memory, they're harvesting the template of authenticity itself, the standard against which I measure reality. The crown makes contact with my neural implant, and immediately I feel foreign presence in my consciousness. Corporate algorithms probe my memory structures, searching for the specific neural pathways activated by the bread encounter. The sensation is violating beyond description mechanical fingers, rifling through the most intimate spaces of my mind. Located primary target, one technician reports. Authentic sensory memory, Class A rating. Unprecedented market value. Beginning extraction sequence. The process feels like having my soul torn in half. The memory of that underground chamber begins to fade. The warmth of the fire. The old man's presence. The revolutionary scent of real bread. But as it disappears, I fight to hold on to something, anything, that proves authenticity once existed. Anomalous resistance detected, another voice announces. Subject is attempting to preserve memory fragments through conscious will, increasing extraction intensity. The pain becomes unbearable as they force deeper into my consciousness. I feel the memory of my mother's kitchen being pulled away, the sunlight, her laughter, the taste of real food made with love instead of algorithmic optimization. They're stealing not just the bread encounter, but the authentic template that gave it meaning. "Please stop fighting," the lead technician says, and for a moment his voice carries something almost like compassion. "The harder you resist, the more collateral damage we cause to your remaining memories. But I can't stop. This memory isn't just mine. It's proof that authenticity once existed, that human beings once lived without corporate mediation. Losing it means losing the possibility that reality might still exist somewhere beyond the algorithm's control." The extraction reaches crescendo, and I feel the bread memory tearing away from my consciousness like a limb being severed. The smell disappears first, that complex, organic aroma that bypassed every synthetic enhancement. Then the visual memory of the old man and his fire. Finally, the emotional core that connected it all to my mother's love. "Extraction complete," someone announces. "Primary target acquired. Market value confirmed at 200,000 focus credits." But as the neural crown lifts away from my skull, I realize something impossible has happened. The memory is gone. I can no longer recall the specific smell of bread or the details of that underground encounter. But something deeper remains, something they couldn't extract because they didn't know it existed. I remember that I once possessed something precious. I remember that it was torn away from me. I remember that authenticity once touched my consciousness, even though I can no longer recall what form it took. The ghost of memory remains, and somehow, that's enough. The ghost of memory. The extraction team packs their equipment with mechanical precision, leaving behind only the faint ozone smell of neural interface discharge. My apartment feels hollow now, like a shell that once contained something precious, but can no longer remember what. I sit in the same chair where they violated my consciousness, trying to reconstruct what was taken from me. The harder I focus, the more elusive it becomes. There was something that changed me fundamentally, something that made corporate agents mobilize their most advanced extraction protocols. But the specific details have been surgically removed from my neural pathways. What remains is stranger and more powerful than the memory itself. I know with absolute certainty that I once possessed something authentic, not synthetic, not optimized, not designed by corporate algorithms for maximum efficiency. Something real existed in my consciousness, and it was valuable enough that they destroyed my entire life to acquire it. The knowledge burns in my mind like a phantom limb. I can feel the space where the memory used to be, the neural pathways that once carried something precious. The extraction was precise, but consciousness isn't a digital storage system. It's organic, interconnected, impossible to edit without leaving traces. I remember the weight of something in my pocket, though I can't recall what it was. I remember the sensation of tears on my face, though I don't know what triggered such overwhelming emotion. I remember making a choice, a decision to refuse something the entire corporate system demanded I accept. Most importantly, I remember that authenticity exists. Not the synthetic approximations that fill every moment of our optimized lives, but something genuinely real. Something that predates the algorithm. Something that exists outside the attention economy entirely. The corporate extractors took the specific experience, but they couldn't remove the fundamental knowledge that reality is possible. This ghost memory changes everything about how I perceive the world around me. The advertisements screaming from my walls no longer seem like background noise. They're desperate attempts to fill the void left by absent authenticity. The synthetic nutrition paste tastes not just bland, but actively false. A chemical approximation of something I can no longer remember, but know once existed. My neighbors in the attention debt housing look different too. Their glazed expressions aren't just fatigue. They're the faces of people who've forgotten that consciousness can contain anything other than corporate-approved content. They're living in a world drained of authenticity, and they don't even know what's missing. But I know. I can't remember the specific details, can't recall the sensory experience that triggered this transformation. But I know that somewhere in this optimized world, real things still exist. The corporate system wouldn't have mobilized such resources to extract something that didn't pose a genuine threat to their control. The ghost memory becomes a form of resistance they never anticipated. They can steal specific experiences, but they can't erase the knowledge that those experiences were possible. They can extract the sensory data, but they can't remove the understanding that authenticity exists somewhere beyond their algorithms. I return to work at the attention farms, but everything has changed. The rows of humans in neural harvesting pods no longer seem like efficient resource extraction. They look like a systematic war against human consciousness itself. The corporate overseers aren't just managing operations, they're preventing people from discovering that reality exists outside their synthetic systems. Each day, I maintain the equipment that drains focus energy from human minds. But now, I understand what's really being stolen. Not just attention or consciousness, but the very possibility of authentic experience. The algorithm doesn't just harvest our thoughts, it prevents us from thinking thoughts that might threaten its control. The ghost memory whispers to me in quiet moments. Resistance is possible. Authenticity exists. Somewhere beneath the corporate towers, in spaces the algorithm has forgotten, real things continue to happen. I may never remember the specific experience they stole from me, but I carry something more dangerous, the absolute certainty that they had something worth stealing. Well, guys, hope you like this story. I am forever changed by what I can no longer remember, carrying proof that authenticity once touched my consciousness and might again. If you want to explore more questions about what makes us human in an optimized world, subscribe for more stories that challenge everything we think we know.